Well, YouTube, kind of a bummer. I made a video for you guys yesterday of part one of this table that I built. Took about 3.5 hours to edit it. And, well, I figured out what I did because the thing wouldn't save as a dang video. So it's all lost because I had deleted the videos anyways. So we missed all the action of me putting this table together, but I'm gonna kind of go back over it with you guys and show you what I did, and at least for part two we'll get to see a little action, a little welding. So right now we just got to open up the pasture for some horses. So there we go. Green. Gotta love that. So anyways, a little bit of a bummer, but no big deal. Got a whole bunch of other videos we'll be putting up this week. Keep you guys entertained. So but yeah, let's check out this table. Well guys, so here's the table. Man, I'm still bummed that this whole video is gone now. But pretty simple design. So the top, I had this long plate that had a bunch of these sticking off of it, kind of like so. So I torched all those off, and then I cut this plate down from I cut it to, what did I go with? I think I went with 30 inches wide, and the plate deep, it's 23 inches including the space in the middle, which I made for a I want to make like little tools I can stick in there. I did a 1-inch space. I actually used 1-inch tubing to space it, so I can make some tools using some 1-inch tubing as kind of the base to stick in that, like some clamps, jigs, stuff like that. So I torched that, grinded it down. The rest of it is all this. It's probably, I don't know, 5/6. It's almost, you know, looking at it, really, it's probably about 5/16 angle, the thickness on it, by 2.5 inch. And all it is you can see I have the feet there. They come down at a T from the uprights, and the table is just held together by a piece of angle under there, and then joined there. Plenty sturdy. It's just plenty sturdy. It was really, frankly, pretty easy to build. When I had been putting the thing together, I laid all the pieces out, and then I started grinding to prep for my welds. I started grinding where things were going to go together, and then I realized that I don't know, I was doing kind of more thinking ahead and just spending more brain power on it than I really had to, so I kind of put the piece where I was about to weld it, marked where to grind to prep for the weld, and just grinded it rather than just, you know, running a grinder all day for no reason. So that was kind of something I learned. You know, I'm still pretty new to this fabricating thing. It's just kind of the things you learn from doing something. It's just kind of the process you want to use to put stuff together. Everything squared up pretty well. When I cut the angle for these uprights, I cut the kind of a thing you want to always try to do, if it is, you know, if it makes sense, is like, so I would have a nice square edge on each of the angles. So I built the top first, then put the uprights, and then put the feet. Okay, so to give myself two nice square edges to where those uprights would butt up to the top, I cut the length, the 34 inches of the upright off of one end, and then instead of measuring off that cut end, measure off of the other end of the angle that was a factory edge, because the factory edge is nice and square. So, you know, that's just kind of a little thing that I've learned, you know, just really doing woodworking too. Cutting 2x4s, you need two really square pieces. Cut it off the factory edge if you need it. But everything else went together pretty smooth. I used 70-18 to weld it all together. I used 60-11 for my tacks. Because with this thing being pretty heavy, you know, wanted to have some, be able to tack it and not worry about them breaking loose. Also 60-11 starts pretty easy. And another thing, so, you know, 60-11 burns through rust and mill scale and paint, which is nice. I mean, of course you want to always prep your welds, but here's an example where 60-11 comes in really handy. So I put the thing together and I was looking down at these spaces I had in here. I didn't have any welds in there. I said, man, really, I'd feel better if I just threw a couple beads down there. So I hadn't had this all prepped, and to really get in there and completely clean it with the grinder would be kind of funky to do. But, you know, I just took the wire brush, got any loose stuff off of there. Ran some 60-11, which busted right through the mill scale and a little bit of rust off of this scrap steel. And it worked out just fine. So that's where, you know, it's not just, well, you can use 60-11 if you don't feel like cleaning something off. That's not really the idea. The whole thing is there's going to be times when, you know, you got your afterthought welds on these little projects. So, but I like doing these little projects because they're great things to learn on. If my welds don't come out how I like to, or I see little things like some porosity here and there, I want to kind of dial in and figure out how to get rid of that. You know, this is a table. For one thing, those welds are, I mean, it's not like they're not going to hold, but you don't want porosity if, you know, down the line I end up doing some, you know, if I'm doing work for somebody, especially something that's going to, you know, be structurally or rely on someone's safety or stuff like that. You can see a little porosity in there. Right there, that's actually a 60-11 weld right there. That was another kind of afterthought. Well, not afterthought, I just hadn't planned well enough. So, but yeah, let me show you one more thing. So, on this machine, on the old Tombstone, that's what I'm running right there. I use these Hobart 70-18s, 1/8 inch, 70-18 ACs. You can run 70-18 on AC, just regular old 70-18, which I got some, but at least on my machine, I'm not even saying this is true for every AC 225. On my machine, the 70-18 AC runs 1,000 times better, and it just does. So as long as I'm running 70-18 with that machine, it's going to be these Hobart 70-18s. Also, if you're welding on an AC 225, this 60-11, this is Harbor Freight Special 60-11. It seems to run the best. Then I've tried, let's see, what else have I tried? I've got some Lincoln 6011s. I've tried Forney. And I think I tried some Hobarts. But these Vulcans have been the best. And I usually run them about 105 amps. With the thicker stuff, I think I actually ended up running them at 120. It was fine. But I usually run that 6011 105. The 7018, I ended up actually cranking it up to 135 for the 7018 on this machine and this application. All the other times I've used 7018, I've been running it at 120, which seems to run really smooth for me. But you know, like you said, which, you know, I can see now after using this machine the advantage of having a little more fine-tuning ability with your amperage, because a lot of times, especially with my 6011, really I would, if I could run it a few amps hotter than 105 but a little less than 120, it'd be right in the sweet spot, at least in the experiences that I've had with it. So that's our table now. So I'm going to start doing part 2 and adding some accessories and tool holders. So stay tuned.